Good evening. My name is Richard Cream and I'm Chair of the Permanent Public Building Committee. Welcome to the April 29, 2025 meeting of the committee. Under Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, issued March 12, 2020, and in effect until the termination of the emergency, meetings of public bodies may be conducted virtually, provided that adequate access is provided to the public. On March 28th, 2025, the remote public meeting provision was extended through June 30th of 2027. As a reminder, this meeting, which is a hybrid meeting, some of us are in person, some are joining us remotely, is being recorded via Zoom and will be uploaded to the town's YouTube channel for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. I believe we have. I'm not aware of anyone else who is going to be joining us online. So we are the committee, and you're going to welcome all. All votes will be conducted by roll call, as this is a hybrid meeting. It's just a couple of notes before we get started. First of all, it's great to see everyone in 3 dimensions. It's always a pleasure to see people in person and renew acquaintances that way. Secondly, it's my pleasure to introduce the newest member of the building and construction team, and that's Meryl Nisler. Meryl, welcome to Needham.
Thank you.
I thought we would take a moment and just perhaps go around the room and introduce ourselves. You can certainly see the nameplates, but we can identify ourselves by position. As many know, the PBC is made up of representatives of different disciplines, so we can identify ourselves by profession. We, of course, are all appointed by the same authority, which is a cross-functional authority with various stakeholders in the community. So with that, perhaps we can go around the room. Actually, Bob, you want to start?
Oh boy, wow.
How about George?
Yes.
Okay, George, right. Senior
That's
member.
what I thought you were saying.
Okay, George, go
I
ahead.
think we were gonna start because of the rules.
Most of the city.
Say what you want. Anyway, I'm a professional engineer and on the committee since inception.
I'm Bob Germany. I'm a professor of architecture at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island, and this is my first year on the committee. Do I have to do this?
No, I think you're okay.
I'm safe.
I'm Roy Cipolliti. I work in higher education and the operations, facilities, construction side of the house for most of my career. I'm over at Northeastern University now, where when I applied, George put in a good word for me. And both my daughters have gotten in, and we'll be going to Northeastern.
That's pretty good.
It's the right price too. So anyway.
Big time.
So it's, and I probably knew this about 10 years, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that.
I would trade that.
Okay.
None of my kids went to a school for free. I love the thought.
No, free is still 20-something thousand for room and board.
Oh, that's not horrible. That is a bargain at any day. You know me, I am one. I don't know how long you've been doing it, maybe 2.5-ish, maybe years.
Excellent. So I'm not technically on the PPBC. I'm one of the user representatives for the Pollard project, but I'm Elisa Scattrud. I am elected to the school committee, just started my 2nd term with the recent election. And I'm a financial planner by trade, so. And I know a lot about education, and I have a master's in public administration, so I kind of have dabbled in some stuff too, so.
And my name is Richard Green, Chair of the committee this year, and I am the attorney representative to the committee.
Perfect.
And maybe Erwin will join us.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. And we also have several people online. Do we want them to?
Sure, we can, absolutely. yeah.
Tamitha, you want to introduce yourself? You've already met Meryl, though.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Tamitha Bibbo, principal at Pollard Middle School.
And Rob?
Hi, Rob McLean, the library director for the Needham Free Public Library. I'm a user rep for the Phase 1 renovation at the library.
and Erhard.
Hi, my name's Erhard Grafe. I am on the Library Board of Trustees, and I'm the user representative from the trustees for the library project. And I'm a professor as well. I teach at Olin College of Engineering, but I'm also actually on sabbatical and a fellow at Northeastern. So spread the Northeastern love.
And you have
My son goes there.
Your son goes there.
Yeah.
boy, it's a Northeastern night.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And Nicole will get to you in just a moment.
Very good.
Okay,
Okay. So the first item for on our agenda this evening actually is the approval of the minutes for the most recent meeting of the committee. And the date escapes me, Catherine.
7. The 7th.
April 7th. Okay, thank you very much. The chair is not aware of any comments having been directed to either the chair or to Catherine Copley with respect to any comments or edits anyone might have with respect to the minutes. I'll ask one more time if anyone has any comments with respect to the most recent minutes for April 7th meeting. If not, we will deem the minutes to be approved and to be filed accordingly. So thank you, Catherine. And that brings us to our first agenda item of the evening subsequently, and that is the library phase 1 project and a status update. And for that, we will recognize who would like to. Okay, April.
that'll be me. And let me share my screen. And you all see that? There we go. And Nicole is with us as well. The architect with you feel. Hi, Nicole, you're somewhere out there.
She's muted.
There we go. So we went out to bid and received favorable 9 bids for the general contractor position. And the range was pretty extreme, from roughly 2.2 million down to 1.6 million. The low bidder was Tower Construction Corp at 1,624,000. And but the average bid amount was about 1.88 roughly. So the cost estimators oftentimes tell us that they're targeting the midpoint in terms of the bid. And so let me take you through the budget. With that favorable bid, it allows us to reallocate some of the funds to fully fund the FF&E associated with the project, and also to fully fund some of the equipment that will be necessary for the renovation. And so yes, this is a little juggling, but we will still be asking for the same amount at annual town meeting, which will be Article 29 for those of you who are town meeting members. And the request is for 2.386 million. And that's up combined with what was appropriated in May of 2022, the design funds brings us to the full budget. And Rob and Erhard, I know you're pleased to see those results, as am I. Do you have any comments on that?
I mean, just to speak for the trustees, we're super excited to get these bids in that range. We're also excited about the fact that one of the things we were nervous about was trying to cut costs on FF&E, right? And getting things that wouldn't be either fit for purpose for the programming we wanted, or in terms of the quality that would hold up over time. And so I'm excited that we have a chance to kind of go for those materials that will likely be what we really want.
And I'll just be brief, but I just want to don my hat to you, Hank, and leading us to the decision to adjust the timing for construction on this, to take it out of the summertime slam. And I think we've saw some great bids here, and a number of, 9 bids here. And my just immature guess is that because we're starting in early September rather than in early July, that it led to this great moment tonight.
George, you have a question?
Yes, so what does this leave us with in terms of contingency?
The contingency is $250,000, which is about 15% of the contractor's amount. And
So after you've taken everything and included it all, you still have 15%.
yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and as you well know, with any renovation project, there will always be surprises. But and the way that UTIL structured the drawings, we did not have to accept any of the deduct alternates that are noted in the banquette seating and the ceiling tile. Nicole, I don't know if you have any comments about those, but.
Yeah, it's great to see this range of bids, and we're glad that, we have the flexibility to make the choices about FF&E that the library needs. We had the alternates here in case they were needed. We could have purchased the banquettes as furniture, but that would have compromised some of the functionality in terms of storage and power. And we could have replaced the ceiling with tactile instead of the wood ceiling. That may have also compromised the quality of the space. So we're glad to see that we're able to kind of keep these items within the project.
Very good. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
I'll just note that in your package, there's some FAQs, and also for those of you who are town meeting members, there are a few slides that you're very familiar with. You've been following it through, but for those who town meeting members who are not familiar with the design, I think there'll just be a few slides like this presented at town meeting.
Right.
Who's going to present this?
I think it'll be a select board member advocating. Erhard, are you being asked to present before town meeting, or is that select board?
I just rotated off of chair, and usually we have the chair do it. So, Rob, do you know if you or Rob Pettit will be doing that?
No, the latest I heard from Katie was that this select board member would take the lead, and the chair and I would be on hand to answer questions. And that the finance committee chair would come to give their position on the article. I'll confirm with her. I know that Katie met this morning with Rob and had a meeting.
Rob, I think that makes sense, given the fact that the time limits for presentation are going to be strictly enforced, and they're quite limited for the proponents. So it's good to I think that's a good move to probably centralize things in the board, select board, and then have the library trustees available for and yourself available for to share your expertise for questions and ideas.
Has FinCom given an opinion yet?
I think they have approved it.
Yes, yes, finance committee has endorsed it.
Excellent.
I think, can I ask a question?
Please, Mike.
There's not a large technology component to this, other than probably moving some wiring or something like that. We're not buying or installing or any servers or other things.
We are buying and
TV.
installing two large TVs.
Okay,
And also, there'll be new data coming into multiple locations, primarily where the TVs
so
are.
just the drops, but.
The drops, but
the
also-
infrastructure for the technology is really, they're building it off of what's currently there.
Yes,
Server room, everything else. That's not
Yeah.
really much, but-
the MDF room is down in the lower level.
Yeah.
So they may need to be snaking, although in the documents, they're supposed to bring all the new lines back to the MDF room.
Right,
There'll be card readers on the two entrance doors. And those will probably go to the IDF room.
that's, it's one of the costs we don't have to worry about, so that's.
Yeah.
I was asking, thank you.
Yeah, although we will have to, we're having the contractor putting in the conduit. And then there'll be a separate contract for the actual wiring and because the library is on an old system, we can't add to it. So there'll be a new system that's consistent with the town. And we may have enough contingency to rewire their existing keypad, which
Okay,
comes into
But those costs have been calculated other than the rewiring.
We're gonna be talking to some people on the state bid list.
Those are in these numbers.
In the both, in the equipment numbers.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Okay, hearing,
Good bid.
yes, very much so.
Yeah, very impressive.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I think, Mr. Chair, if you could make a motion to accept the bid pending funding approval at annual town meeting, that would be helpful.
Oh, the chair will so move. Is there a second? Thank you. Thank you very much. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will proceed to a roll call vote because we are in a hybrid format. Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Earhart,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Great. Okay, and I believe at this point we can proceed to the one invoice we have open for library. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, very good. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice from NV5, vendor NV5 for March 2025 services in the amount of $2,864.85. That's coming out of the miscellaneous budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Earhart,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Is there any other business before the committee with respect to the library project?
No,
Okay, all right, very good.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Earhart. Thank you, Rob. We'll see you at town meeting.
See you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. All right, that brings us to the next agenda item, which is the Pollard School renovation project. And for that, Hank?
yes, and maybe we could invite David and Inger up.
Absolutely, please do, yes. Please join us.
If you all haven't, maybe you've only seen their faces on Zoom calls. They're both from Lyro Hill and assisting our team.
Hello, Chair.
Assisting our team with all of the information that we have to do to evaluate the designers who submitted their responses to the RFS. And there's several documents that all of you have. And I will share them for those of you. So we received 5 responses. Arrow Street, Doran Whittier, HMFH, JCJ, and RDA. And your comprehensive analysis, do you want to explain it a little bit?
Basically, we went through the various proposals and sort of identified who the major consultants were gonna be. We had listed 21 sort of consultants that we are asking the architectural team to provide. And then the MSBA also asks us to identify which of these consultants are an MBE, WBE, or a VBE. And there are certain percentages that they will need to provide per the contract. 5.6% for MBE, 10.6 for WBE, and 3% for VBE. They've kind of been color coded, so we can identify them. One major consultant is going to be educational planner. All 5 firms have the same educational planner, NLP integrated design. They've done a lot of work in town. I believe you know them very well.
Yeah, used to be a middle school teacher, so I think it's right on target.
They all, 3 of them have Semiotis as a civil engineer. Of course, Semiotis on a number of projects, also worked for CDW. I don't know East West Engineering as well. They have landscape design. Arrow Street had Terralink. Doran Whittier is Brown Sardina. 2 of them have Warner Larson and Studio 2112. Structural.
And Brown Sardinia did the landscape over at Sunita Williams School. And Warner Larson did the design for the trail behind Sunita Williams and for the playfield.
If I could just throw in, Sammy Otis did the civil for public safety.
Structural engineers, all these structural engineers have been in this for quite a long time. I've worked with all of them. Fire protection, MEP, all the small GDDs, a number of them. RFS is on also a number of them, especially HMFA. The entire MEP engineering team is RFS.
I think it's important to note that CMTA and Risk Restaurant are very dedicated to Green Schools program and are pretty highly regarded, so.
Yeah. Data and telecommunications, CMTA for Arrow Street, FN Technology for Doran Whittier, RFS for HMFH, and GGD for both JCJ and RDA. Environmental permitting, geotechnical, Environmental. They've all used Universal Environmental for hazardous, who does most of the projects around town. They all have PMNC for cost estimating. Kitchen consultant is all Patrick McGrath. I believe did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, and they've done the kitchen design for almost every other school in town.
Yeah, it's RDA has OSO. Acoustic consulting specifications, library media, Arrow Street is themselves, so is HMFH, JCJ. Doran Whittier has advanced data risk management, and RDA is OSO. Technology, we've got, and theater, Arrow Street is brought first shot, what believe.
Few shot, yeah.
Yeah, and they're currently working with the town
Yep.
on the 3 theaters, Newman High School and Pollard.
Justin and Doran Whittier also have first shot, and J&J have first shot for theatrical. Sustainable design, we have environmental engineering, Green design for green engineer for Doran Whittier, children sustainability, for HMFH and JCJ, and visual sustainable building for RDA. Code consultant, Air Street has code red. Doran Whittier is doing it themselves, and HMFH and J&J have Hastings, and RDA had building, fire, and access. Accessibility, Doran Whittier, doing themselves as Arrow Street. HMFH has KMA, Hastings Consultants, then building, fire, and access. Traffic control or consultants, number of them. Two of them have Bryant Associates, Air Street's NDM, Doran Whittier Langham, and JCJ, Green and Henderson. FF&E, Arrow Street, Saad Sang, who I've worked with in Millbury. Doran Whittier is doing it themselves. HMFA has Steph Fura, who I've also worked with. JCJ is doing it themselves, and RDA has Moyo Design, who I've also worked with. Site survey, Samiotis, Langham, Samiotis on the other three. And security has Karimi Consultants, Advanced Data, Sunway, Newcomb Boyd, and New Harbor Tech. Any questions?
Do the tallies at the bottom for the colors? So if there was a firm that was mentioned twice, did that count as one for below?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And so two of them don't have any VBEs on their team, but I guess that could potentially be made up.
They're gonna need to find, in order to meet the contract, or they're gonna have to get a waiver on the contract.
Yeah.
And I remember, weren't you supposed to contact the MSBA before submitting? I think I remember reading that somewhere, saying you have to get a waiver before.
To get an
you
exclusion,
submit your-
to get an exemption?
Yeah.
Through the state, supplier diversity office.
But
Yeah.
It's-
Got it.
Yeah, it's usually not the MSBA, the MSBA is looking for this, through, SOD.
And we have in other projects, there will be a number of reimbursable expenses like well drilling, test well drilling, and other extra services where potentially firms could add
Could bring
that.
in some additional.
But that would certainly be part of any negotiation should either of these JCJ or RDA be accepted. And then there was one other consultant, IDS, who Doran Whittier has as part of their team, and they worked with Doran Whittier on resolving issues at the Westwood project, trying to identify problems that were occurring within the well system and inefficient or not meeting the EUIs for that. And we're familiar with them because they're actually talking to building maintenance department to do some energy management consulting on the Sunita Williams School. And I think we all know that every new building opens up and then you have to work out all the kinks. Any questions about this?
Well, I think I'll open it up for the committee. Any questions about anything that's been presented so far?
I was surprised there was no commissioning agent.
Commissioning agent is hired by the MSBA.
They do it directly.
And assigned to us.
They'll sign it directly to us.
Yeah.
Right, but the MSBA will pay for it, correct?
That's excellent.
Yes. That's very important.
Yes.
Sometimes go over the process from here out
Yes.
with MSBA, spend a minute or two on that.
Yes, and I can share some other information. And Meryl, maybe you want to chime in on some of that also.
So there's the designer selection panel that's part of the MSBA. There's 13 members on that panel that represent engineers, public. Who else is on there? There's
Contractor.
Yeah.
Contractors, there's
A lot of
union
Hades,
officials,
yeah.
there's.
community members as well. So essentially what happens is next Tuesday is the review of the proposals. So they receive the same 5 proposals that we did. Look through them. They've already done their due diligence on reviewing the proposals as well. Then what happens next Tuesday is there is a review of the proposal. So one by one, they go through alphabetically, typically, open up the first one, say the experience, different aspects of the proposals that stood out. I think Larry Hill did a great job as far as summarizing. So there's a summary sheet here. That's basically what they
What they'll go
also, who the project manager is, project architect, designer, the team, other past experience that the firms have had as well. So reviewing those, and then they open the floor to discuss. Then we move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So, and at the end, there's a robust discussion. The designers are not speaking at all, so they just listen. I'm sure they'll all be on, just to see how the wind is blowing, how it works. And there's also discussion from the 3 representatives as well. So it's important that there's some sort of desire put forward of what you're looking for in a project. I believe superintendent will say something in the beginning. And it's really just an open discussion that way. And then at the end, there's a ranking. So think of bowling instead of golf. So the highest number, so there's a ranking at the end. You give 3 points to your first place, 2 for your second choice, and you give a 1 to your third choice. So then there's 3 designers that are pulled forward for interviews, typically is what happens. So sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 4, but then there's a vote at the end to see how many are interviewed, and that interview is May 20th. So.
Yes, and it can be confusing because you give 3 points to your number 1.
Yeah.
And only 1 point to your number 3. So the 3 representatives from the town, there are 13 members who are with the MSBA. And then there are 3 representatives from the town. And Elisa, you are one. And Richard?
Lynn.
Lynn, that's right. Lynn and then Dan Gudikantz. And Dan is jumping between meetings. He did give me his ranking, so, but I'll fill that in at the end.
Great.
And I don't know if you want to add specific things to the discussion about the different architectural companies, or certainly you have had experience with all of them, or many of them.
With all of them. They've all have very good school experience. Some of them have more recent experience than others. And, you know, like through it. Era Street is got a Milton Upper School, but it is only in schematic design right now. It has not moved forward. We're actually working with Arrow Street on the Lincoln Elliott School that's under construction. And they've got a elementary school that opened 2 years ago. For the Hildreth Elementary School. we talked about integrated design, the visioning sessions, discussion renovations versus new construction. You know, they highlighted some building performance sustainability issues, and they provided some concept ideas in their proposal. Dorn Whittier, you know the most of, they did the last school here, they have significant MSBA and middle school experience. I did an elementary school with them, Mulberry, in Mulberry. They've got a good workload. They've got a middle school in Haverhill that's under construction, going to be completed next year. They've got an elementary school in Situate that's opening in 27, and they've got a Wilmington, an elementary school in Wilmington that is just got funded and is to be completed in 28. They do have a number of MSBA jobs, and the MSBA does look at that.
Yeah, I know.
That's gonna be maybe the one
That's the killer.
issue that they may have.
Yep.
It's, they've got
too much.
they've got Northborough High School that they got in January of last year. They've got the Situate, the Haverhill, and the Wilmington projects, all within the last couple of years. But they've got a very good proposal. They do very good work. HMFH, we have significant experience. He's got a lot of experience, having done the Chapman Middle School, in Weymouth. That is a very similar type of project. It's really a beautiful school. They also have significant experience doing schools. They've got Arlington High School that they are finishing up. Saugus Middle School, School of Chelsea. The proposal was very good, went into it in depth on their experience, looked at the various options. I thought their proposal was very well put together. Excuse me. JCJ, again, has good school experience. They currently have Cutler Elementary School in Hamilton and Whitaker Voc Tech, which they got in May of 22. That's a pretty sizable project. Project architects, they have a project designer, Jeff Elliott. It's got a lot of experience with the firm, a number of good projects. They emphasized a lot of collaborative community engagement. It was a big part of their proposal. They did fairly detailed site analysis. They went through the various phasing, including new construction on DeFazio Field. RDA, they've got two active projects at Central Middle School in East Bridgewater that they got in September of 24, and the Foster Elementary School that should be, I think, it's under construction now. Most of their school experience, though, is somewhat dated. Thurgood Marshall School was 2016. Their Cohasset Middle School was 2004. So a lot of the experience that they cited in their proposal are fairly old schools. So I'm not sure if the current team was that involved with it. Their project manager has only been there for 4 years. And they emphasized a collaborative community engagement. They numbered incorporating universal design for learning. They talked a little bit about procurement and doing early packages and going, even doing early packages with a chapter, 149 design bid build process. Can be an interesting way of going about it. We talked about new construction versus renovation and talked about the various phases. That's general the review of the designers. They all have good experience.
RDA and Dorn Whittier have on-call contracts with the town currently. Steve Watchhorn left Socotec and went over to RDA recently, but of the different firms, RDA is the smallest. And
And they've got another big school.
And we have another big school.
And I think that Gene Raymond, it appears to me as there's a pyramid.
Yeah,
And there's one person at the head.
and he's
Yeah.
great.
He's great, but has to deal with multiple projects.
Yeah.
And then, can JCJ, is their team mostly from Connecticut? Is that the one?
No, because Keith's in the Boston office,
Keith,
project manager, Keith Mercer. He was with KBA.
Yeah.
When we did public safety. So he was the project manager for KBA there. Did, I mean, there's no complaints, but no, it's a different firm, so.
yes, I think that they're,
It was the one that was mostly Connecticut, but
That's where they're based.
Yeah.
JCJ's,
BCJ.
JCJ's Connecticut.
you know, and there were things like their civil engineer wasn't registered in Massachusetts.
Yep.
Or at least wasn't listed as registered.
Wasn't listed as registered, whether they have somebody else.
It could be reciprocity.
Yeah.
They did get good feedback though, I mean, relatively speaking.
We did, I mean, most of the references were all very good.
But all the references were great, but they had specific comments about their team, which I thought was,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was shocked at the feedback. Where HMFH had no actual feedback, which I found shocking. They all got excellent because they're only gonna get excellent reviews from people. But I was surprised at the comments on JCJ.
Bob?
Yes, maybe two ways to ask this. How many of these have we worked with directly of these firms, or are there any we have not yet worked with at all?
We've worked extensively with Doran Whittier.
Yep.
Doran Whittier designed the Senior de Williams School, the addition to the high school, the 2 modular classrooms at Mitchell. They also did the most recent school master plan. And they're on-call architects. RDA is also currently on call, but I've not worked with them directly.
And nor has Barry.
And nor has Barry. He's only worked with Steve Watchorn,
Right.
and I think,
Yes. And his previous firm.
Yeah.
And when he came over to IDA, Barry went out to bid again, then picked IDA because it's familiarity.
and then JCJ, we haven't worked with the firm, but we, as Ken mentioned, worked with Keith Mercy.
We haven't worked with HMFH either.
We have not.
I think it's interesting that somebody there got goods. The only place you see a good rating is in HMFH, at least
Mhm.
in my quick scan. So to your point.
Budget control.
And then
Everybody's gonna get excellent. To not get excellent and is unusual in my opinion.
What about Arrow Street, hey?
In my former life, I knew them.
I didn't do there once, like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Who didn't?
Use that as a reference point.
That was good.
And Meryl can't speak because she used to work there. But the town has not worked with
Okay,
them.
that's all I was asking. Thanks.
I did wanna, I think I'm the only person in the room that has actually said in one of these board reviews. And my comments from that is that there's ultimate respect by the it sounds lopsided, 13 members on the board and 3 members from the town. But the 3 members from the town had ultimate respect by the board members from MSBA, and they were definitely interested in our opinion. And I think allow that to be a stronger influence. The project than just the 13-3. So
They may not have all 13 there at the meeting. The only requirement is there's a quorum and 4 of them have to be architects.
in my particular case, I think all were there. But they were definitely interested in hearing about the town's position on this. We all know that it's gonna be affected by how much work they have. For example, Dorn Whittier may be penalized because they have a lot of projects. They're good. They could do a lot of things. I think they're much stronger than the other four players, my personal opinion. At this point, I don't know because we haven't worked with three of the four on a larger project. In fact, I think the only large project we work with is Dorn Whittier. All the others were little pieces of projects. So obviously, we're gonna, and I think generally speaking, we liked what their work product was. We liked their influence on the project and how it worked. But don't underestimate the value of our input, Dan's input, and enthusiasm and support, and how they work. The school committee works with the PBBC and the building construction department. But it's important to get that message across to them that we have strong feelings about certain team members. If we do.
I do.
This is my shocked face.
I know you would.
Only because it's a huge investment for the town. And I think you've got to me, the biggest benefit of Dorn Whittier is they did the master plan and they can hit the ground running. And I think that's the biggest benefit to me for them. I think from a design most similar to us, I would put HMFH at the top of the list. For me, I think their design is superior. They're probably the best, in my opinion, K-12 designer in the state. I mean, there's not a building I've ever seen they did that I haven't said, wow, that's actually a really nice school. Is it me?
Yeah.
And I would put Arrow Street at number 2, right beneath them. And the thing that makes me nervous is Andrew's really new to them, but I know Andrew and he's a fantastic designer. So I'm not concerned about him personally, but he's only been there a year and I think he's gonna get dinged. I think they're gonna get dinged, but Larry's great and I think Dorn Whittier is gonna get dinged because they have too much work,
Well, HMFH has several large projects too, don't
They
they?
do,
but they're huge.
they're a big firm.
They're big.
I don't think it's the number of.
And it's their
It's-
turn. Like if you look at, I mean,
it's
did you look
circle.
at it? If you look at the circle of who's getting what, like, Princeton didn't go after this because
They're waiting for something.
they're waiting for the Brockton one or whatever. Is it Brockton?
That just, yeah.
Who got that?
Casinos.
Oh my
Who
Casinos.
Wow, that's a miss. Uh,
That's interesting.
that is
That was last
shocking.
week on Tuesday.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll do better than that.
But we have to.
I think
decide.
everybody should vote and decide how they feel about it. I would absolutely put HMFH at the top of the list. Personally,
So,
based on their engineering team, based on their design, based on their recent project that's very similar to ours. If we end up with new, I think they'll do a great job.
Has our team met to discuss this? In other words,
Internally? No,
you-
this is it. We're just chatting.
This is now. This is what we're doing.
when is
I'm
the-
sure Dan's gonna wanna go towards Dorn Whittier, because he probably had a good experience with them at SUNY.
Yeah.
Your first meeting with MSB is next Tuesday?
We're doing an internal on Friday, and then the
Yeah,
first
drive
meeting's next Tuesday.
around.
I think we have to have a shared vision of what we want.
Yeah.
I don't think we can just go in there and say, I want this one, and you want somebody, and he
Yeah,
wants.
so that
somebody.
was kind of the purpose of tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
as I understand it, Meryl, in the first meeting,
Yeah.
they go through this ranking.
Mhm.
You want to describe the process?
So at the end of the discussion, there's basically, that's when everyone votes and they go top to bottom, so alphabetically, this is practice.
Yeah.
If you will. So essentially, they read
The person's name.
the person's name, so Lynn, and then you go alphabetically, your ranking, so you go,
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
or
We do
it might not be in
ranks.
that order, so
No.
your number might be
3,
3,
1,
1, 2.
Yeah. 2, 1,
just
3.
left to right.
Yeah,
And then you
Is
say
there
zero
points?
if
that's my,
if
yeah.
they're not ranked.
That's
You
my
only
point.
vote for-
0,
okay.
0.
So you look.
You only go for three, so two firms won't get votes from
And-
individuals.
And when you give your
They
ranking,
write it down.
you say 3 points, right?
Highest.
Which is the
I think you
highest.
just tell them they
No,
want
what you-
to-
The number.
Using the way it's set up here, using.
You say
Lynn's-
3 to, they sell,
She
yeah.
she would
She would
have 2, 1,
Yeah.
3.
they say,
Yeah.
they say Arrow Street. And you say 2, and then they say Dorn
For
Whittier.
you,
Yeah.
so I'll be Richard for a moment because he's first. Richard would say, and I'm not putting words in your mouth whatsoever. Air Street 3, the next one's Dorn Whittier 1, HMFH 2.
And then
So
go,
you
the-
say-
Arrow
right,
Street's
and then go the
highest.
next person.
I just am making up numbers. here.
I know, but just remember, it's
I'm
not your
role-playing.
third choice, it's your first choice.
You, so you say 3 points. 3 points.
Yeah,
Because your number one ranking gets 3
Right.
points.
yeah.
Right,
And if you say my first choice is so-and-so,
right, they get 1.
they have to interpret that as meaning 3 points. So I think it's safer to say 3 points.
Points, yeah,
So
They'll
they'll
go- yeah.
They'll go over that to clarify.
Yeah.
yeah. And at the top of our little practice thing underneath proposed evaluation is again another explanation of it, so.
And then,
So.
in the first meeting, as I understand it, they go through all of the members of MSBA first, and then they pull the members from Needham.
Mhm.
In the second meeting, that's reversed. So the member, didn't you say that?
Not in my experience, for the interview, it's the same. Where
I was
they
gonna
do-
say, I think you go last no matter what. The
I
school,
think the district.
town
is,
goes last no matter what.
Is that your experience as well? Yeah,
Kind of goes last.
yeah, so it's both, both.
Yeah.
It's
the
unfortunate,
proposal.
because I think your approach makes
It's
much more
better.
sense, because the town should set the tone and everybody, because I think that's how they used to do it. The
Yeah.
town used to set the tone,
Mhm.
and then the people that were on the fence would vote with the town.
Mhm.
They don't do that anymore. They go first, and you go second.
Okay.
It used to be absolutely the town set the tone.
Mhm.
So do we want to do an experiment here?
Sure, I just want to just clarify with Lynn again, you said that HMFAH would be your
Well,
your
3 points.
3 points, right? 2 points,
I'm going,
2 points for DW, and the 1 point would be for
nope,
no
2
one.
points for Arrow Street.
Oh, I'm saying DW third.
That's
1
correct.
point, okay,
1 point.
okay, thank you, okay.
And you put them there because they have too much work.
I put them third because I don't think their design work is as good as the other two. I'm going totally down the investment of this town should offer the best design outcome.
No, I appreciate that perspective. That's a
Yeah.
perspective I can't bring to this.
And Alyssa and Dan, as far as your perspective, it's meeting the educational program.
That's
so
correct.
Making sure that there's that focus
Right.
on the student. So looking at their breadth of work and making sure that they're addressing 21st century learning and EDL and making sure that that's part of their
Right.
communication to you because it's school.
And I think you're gonna see that. I also think you need to feel comfortable when you see them in person, when they present, that you need to say, I'm gonna work with this person for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Only 5?
You know what I'm saying? I mean, for me, from my perspective, it's about the design, it's about the sustainability, it's about their engineering team that's gonna meet the green building standards and the green school standard.
So
They,
the first,
they all have the same education programming, so
Yeah.
it is what it is.
the first meeting, the architects and design team doesn't speak, so
Right.
there's no,
Ability.
no feeling of each other.
We
It's
have.
really during the interview, which is the May 20th, where that
You
dialogue.
would actually enter members.
Yeah.
with-
They're gonna come to
There's
the
actually no
table.
dialogue,
Yeah.
they present,
Yeah.
and then.
Rather stick it out.
Their microphones really, so there's no back and forth, but you
We could do
get
that.
feelings for people.
However
Yeah.
The
that's
tangibles
good.
are there.
Folks, are we comfortable, kind of calling out our rankings, or do we want to do it by secret ballot and then have Hank tally them?
I don't think.
Come on. Get it out there.
Well, during the meeting with the MSBA, it's voice. vote.
Okay,
So we should-
okay, so we'll do that. right,
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just offer a few observations first? I was a little, well, first of all, I was so thrilled that we have 5 firms that look like they would be a decent fit and, you know. So that's a super high quality problem to have, like picking the best 3 of 5 really good
Mhm.
options.
Yep.
I was a little disappointed in RDA. It seemed like in their little, you know, like mini proposals or whatever, they didn't seem to get the idea that the school owned the DeFazio parking lot land and they had everything on the,
Yeah.
and I sort of felt like that was a
Yes.
miscommunication miss, like on a pretty big part of it. I mean, I assume that
Mhm.
that's something that you all covered as part of the site and.
Well, it's,
Everybody else seemed to get it a little bit more, like what,
well, everyone pushed the boundary, and I think that one of the big questions to the town is, can you fit a middle school on just the parking lot? I'm not sure you can.
Yeah.
Now, some people looked back at what the school committee used to control at DeFazio
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
put it in that big triangular area of land closest to Pollard.
yeah,
Whereas others looked at the parking lot or taking over McLeod Field, one of the hills.
yeah.
But it's a tight site,
Mhm.
and at very least, assuming it's gonna be a geothermal building, there'll have to be wells dug
Yeah.
in some of that adjacent land.
And I don't know what a geothermal well looks like. I mean, I assume that the well
We
part's
can-
underground.
we-
But is there, stuff kind of,
Yeah.
Come over to the DPW
Yes,
in
there's a
June
head
or
that sticks
July.
out.
okay, so there's no, it's not like you could also place aqua
We,
there. It's like,
we have 16 wells
can
in the
put it-
parking lot
Yeah, you can
in
put it
front of
on,
this building. And they all feed into the
they all go.
mechanical room that comes back here where there's a heat exchanger. And those are direct plumbing. Whereas the ones we're looking at putting over at the Jack Cogswell building,
underneath.
these go down 500 feet. The ones over there will go down 1,600 feet. And they will recycle groundwater and then have a heat exchange inside.
but the impact on, like, just what I'm walking across is disrupted by a well or
don't-
not disrupted?
You don't
by a
really
well?
want it under a building, but you can, but you're.
But you could have it
it's
under a
better
soccer
off
field.
under a
You could,
soccer,
but you
yeah,
have to
under
have some
field,
kind
under
of,
parking lot.
removable turf
Pad, yeah.
on top of it.
Okay,
Because there'd be some housing, you know, whether it's like we have in the parking lot here, a manhole cover or something else.
Yeah.
You need to have something there for people if they're stepping on it or playing soccer or baseball or
yeah,
whatever.
okay, but it doesn't take out a field.
No,
No.
Got it. Thank you.
Tamitha, any comments before we do our exercise?
No, I appreciate the thoughtfulness. I, like Alyssa, were impressed with the 5 plans and that 5 came through. I will say I've been able to, with Alyssa, visit a few of these new constructions. And so we were able to see different schools and different architectural firms come to life. We went to Weymouth Middle School, we went to Situate Middle School. I'm visiting Concord Carlisle, so I'm just trying to envision how an educational plan then gets put into purpose with the town and gets, brought together as a middle school. And I agree with everything Lynn said about HMFH. Incredibly impressed with their work, their product, what the team had put together, and that they designed a middle school, which is unique in some ways from an elementary and a high school. And so I'm in agreement with pretty much what everyone has been saying so far. I know we have familiarity with Dorn Whittier. We know what they can produce. We know that they're trustworthy and they follow through and they're on call. And I would think my top 3 are HMF, HD, Dorn and Whittier, and then Arrow Street in sort of the same. It was funny, we were all talking and I was like, oh, that's where I landed too. And I'm not sure where Dan is. He and I are texting. I know he's at another meeting. And I don't know if he had shared that with someone else, but that's what I would add is like the end product, the user-friendly product, when we've gone to see these schools, have been really impressive as well. So that's about it.
I would add too, going on the same visits with Tamitha, I liked how the Doran Whittier school looked,
Mhm.
but I liked how the HMFH school felt.
Yes.
It
There you
just-
go.
I mean, it just felt different, and I think I commented, you know, it just, it sounded different, it just, I don't know, there was something about it that I was attracted to, so I have that in slide.
Yeah, Dan did text me. He ranked Doran Whittier with 3 points, HMFH with 2, and RDA with 1.
Ooh, interesting.
Now, he hasn't had the benefit of this discussion because he's tied up in other things right now.
I
All right.
like Raymond too. I just think they're too small for this with everything else they have.
Yeah.
It's gonna need a lot of hand holding and a lot of attention, and you need a firm big enough and strong enough to pull it off.
And do you think that the principal at HMFH, she's working on a couple other large projects?
Oh, Tina, yeah.
And
Tina and that are both really good. Mhm.
have you worked with Matt Baru?
I've never worked with him. I don't do K-12, but I know him. I know people who work in that firm and I've visited a lot of their work.
So, yes, they're,
You've worked with
He
him?
was on the
Seems like a good person.
Yeah, he's very good at it, so.
No, he's very good. He was there for most of these building committee in early design, when feasibility and schematic, and made sure.
And I think he
The
actually
program.
was on Chapman, wasn't he?
He was
Yeah.
on Chapman, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one that's closest to us.
mhm.
I think something else to consider is the engagement, so it's not the responsibility of the architect to. It's a conflict of interest actually, but the architect to go out and reach and say, vote for this, they can't do that. However, they are presenting at meetings that are going to be attended by the public. And it's important that they have the deliverables and the visuals and the communication that. And you can sense that probably from the interviews as well, but just having that, again, that feel, I know what you mean, it needs to really
You need to feel it. yeah.
resonate with the community, because that's the ultimate getting it to pass time.
Which I think you guys will be really good with, you and Tamitha. That when you actually see them present and you picture that person
Mhm.
standing in your community, speaking to your parents. You're gonna get a feel for it right away. Like you can see yourself being with that person for an extended period of time and leading the group.
I think one of the smarter things that we had heard, and this was really through Weymouth, which was the Chapman building we're discussing, is that they designed it specifically for the entire community, ages 2 to age 99. And they kept talking about this is not just a middle school. This is a
Yeah.
community building, it's a community center, it's to be used all the time, every day, every night, on the weekends. And so if they worked with him, it was definitely part of, when you say that, Lynn, I agree with you, it was part of the campaigning, if you will, or sort of the talking about it, and that's the feel you get. Yes, it's a middle school, and it had accessibility for the elderly population, and for very young children, and for the youth programs and the town programs, and so, I got that. We could understand that. We understood how they got the funding for that, because Weymouth, was not a town where that was an easy sell. They were building a brand new build, bringing 2 middle schools together. And in some of the other buildings, we didn't get that. It was strictly thought of as like, this is just the middle school. So where the middle school kids go to school, and we're not really worried about the larger community in that way. So I appreciate you mentioning that too, because it is something I'll be thinking about when we're meeting with these folks or hearing their proposals.
Thank you. Erwin, I see you joined the meeting. I'm not sure how much you heard of the discussion leading to this point, but we would welcome your thoughts as well. Based on what the materials you've reviewed. Erwin?
Yeah,
There.
Okay, I'm just getting oriented here, so just gonna listen along.
Okay, well, I think we're just about at the point where we're going to offer our respective rankings. So I guess we'll proceed in that vein, and I guess I'll lead off since I'm on first on the list here. All right, on the based upon the materials, the presentations, by Lyro, everything that we've heard so far, Lynn's comments, Elisa's comments, Tamitha's comments, I'm really drawn to that subjective feel that you had for the HMFH projects. And the fact that I think that's a very, very important point. So I think on the strength of those comments, I'm comfortable with giving a 3, meaning first choice to HMFH. And I am going to differ with you, Lynn, on DW. No, that's okay. I don't want to sell D&W short. I think that I've just been so impressed with them every step of the way, everything we've done with them. Their familiarity with the town, of course, I think counts a lot in my view. I love the Sunita Williams School. I think it's a fabulous science school. They won all kinds of awards for it. I know that the student body is very happy there. So I'm inclined to rank them as the middle choice with 2 points, and then Arrow Street 1 point.
So,
I said that piece.
yeah, that's good.
Did you get that?
I did. So, are you doing it live too?
Yeah.
Say that's what
Oh,
my
that's
screen
okay.
looks like.
So next, well, Stuart is not in today, but George, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I have a comment before we move on.
So the procedure is left to right. So you would say Air Street 1, Doran Whittier 2, HMFH 3.
Right, but I'm doing their parlance 3 points for the.
Yeah, but they will ask the
They'll-
question.
They will ask it in order.
In order.
In order.
So even if you skipped over somebody, you just,
Yeah.
just-
Yeah.
yeah, I
No,
appreciate that.
My first
the
choice
narrative.
is HMFH.
Got it.
Got it.
George?
Gold medal.
Actually, I think Doran Whittier did a great job on the school as well, but I think in a lot of respects, there was very strong influence by this committee on them as well. A lot of what they presented was, I don't want to use the word routine, but it was okay.
You elevated.
Yeah, it didn't blow me out of the water. But they did a good job on the project, and they're a good firm, and they know what they're doing, and a lot of good people. In that regard, I definitely would love to hear or to be involved with HMFH. We haven't seen them on projects. They haven't bid our projects. I don't know why, or haven't bid very many of them. I don't think we've heard a presentation that they've had. But it seems like a lot of other people have, and they've done a lot of good work, and I've heard good things about them. And so in that regard, I'd like to consider HMFH as the #1 choice, 3 points, and Doran Whittier 2, and Arrow Street 1.
Thank you, George. Okay, Lynn? You guys do, you already.
Arrow
you're-
Street
yeah,
2,
yeah.
Doran Whittier 1,
Yeah.
HMFH 3.
Okay, very good. Bob?
Arrow Street 2 for me, Doran Whittier 1, HMFH 3. And I just want to comment, I think there's nothing wrong with having a different architect design another school in town.
Yeah.
Doran Whittier's done a lot for us, it's great stuff, but nothing wrong with trying, and a qualified firm, obviously, they're all, I echo the comments, and thank you for all your input.
Downtown.
We have a great choice here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any event could do a good job.
Sounds like we're gonna do three firms.
Yeah, so,
But I would go 1, 2,
That's
and
what
3.
they're talking about.
That's right,
Who's what?
Arrow. Okay.
Right.
Erwin, if you feel comfortable, please have at it, otherwise we can poll you last. It's okay.
Well, I think I am last, right?
Well, actually, we have the user reps also below you.
Okay. I, to be honest, I heard very little of the meeting, but I've really been pleased with Doran Whittier. I always think it's good to have a new approach, a new type of architect. And based on what I'm hearing from the others, I would have it ranked 1 for Arrow Street, 2 for Doran Whittier, and 3 for the third firm there.
Very good. Thank you, Erwin.
Welcome.
Elisa?
I have HMFH as my first choice, so 3 points, and Doran Whittier as my second choice with 2 points. I was very impressed with JCJ and the ratings, you know, they were next to Doran Whittier, they were the only ones that got perfect ratings for everything. I liked the feedback that they got, and I liked the emphasis that they had in their proposal. They just seemed to be a little more creative. And I liked them talking about how much community engagement they have. So they're my third choice, but they're my third choice.
Okay, great, thank you. Tabitha?
I will be brief. For me, it was Aerosmith 2. Is it Aerosmith? Arrow, sorry.
Did you love Aerosmith?
Oh, I'm half asleep. 1 for Doran Whittier and 3 for HMFH. Although I feel like any of the 3 would be really incredible to work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. And Hank, can you fill in
Yeah.
Dan's?
Dance was 3
2,
for Doran Whittier. 3, 2.
How much of a difference does it make in the meetings?
Excuse me?
I just a question, how much does it difference it make when we're in this meeting with 13 of them and 3 of us? If there's, how do they perceive alignment within the community? Or if there's misalignment, do they care? I mean,
I don't think they really care.
I have no idea.
They don't.
How they perceive it.
I think it's a function of who they think can do the job. An input from the town and also dishing out the work.
Yeah.
Relatively, making sure you're not giving it all to one firm, because they want multiple people that can do this work.
But, yeah.
And they put all that together and make a decision.
I think it's important that we actually have 2 meetings. Because it's a big commitment, and having the interviews, I believe will be an important part of the process.
Okay.
Apparently, you can make a decision at the first meeting.
I don't agree with
But
that.
rarely happens. Yeah, interviews are important.
Hugely important.
Especially if you haven't worked with a particular
Hugely important.
architect.
Even if you have, like, it. I don't know. I think
I'm
you
just thinking if
have
there's
to
one
have them.
clear, if there's one clear cut in your mind. And it's someone you've worked with, then maybe you don't need the interviews, but in
But
this.
even then, because I think, I mean, I've done it a million times and you're always surprised. Sometimes I'm just always surprised. Like, wow, I really love that person and
Fair
that
enough.
team, and I'm shocked that I like them the best. It happens a lot.
Also, you see sometimes people who you think are good mail it in.
Right.
And like, wow, that was just not creative. So I agree, the interviews are essential for that because that's my experience too.
And we've never done this project. This is a brand new project. Like, it's not the Sunita Williams School. It's
Right.
brand new.
Just a comment, a little bit about the history of this group. We had a situation a number of years ago where everybody thought we were married to an architect. And for the next big project, we chose a completely different architect. The architect was shocked. There were people around the table that were shocked. There were people in town that were shocked.
Yeah,
How could you have chosen someone different?
I think that's why you only got 5 submittals.
Yeah.
Because everyone thinks that you've got an architect.
Right.
And the other
Yeah.
people said,
Yeah.
that's
And
not,
we've-
I'm never gonna win that, so I'm not gonna go for
We've
it.
changed from architects. That people thought we were kind of married to, at least twice that I'm aware of, for this very reason.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad idea.
That's right. So I'm just gonna read into the record the final results. So HMFH with 26 points is the first choice. And the second choice is Dora and Whittier with 16 points. And the third is Arrow Street with 10 points. And then each of RDA and JCJ got 1 point. So that's
Would that really be no?
no, that's correct. It's a sense of the committee.
Yeah, and I think it behooves the three representatives to perhaps come to a consensus amongst yourselves, but not necessarily. How important is it that the three representatives from the town express?
I think they should express what
I
the
think we
committee.
should have a sidebar
decided.
conversation because
Yeah.
we should not look broken in front of.
I also, Hank, I also wonder if, Dan wasn't able to have conversations with Alyssa, me, Jess, who went to go visit some of the spaces. I think something that, and I know Lynn can have a conversation with, Dr. Buchanan as well and get some insight into his decision-making process. I think, and I forget who just said it, maybe it was George, you said it's a whole new project. It really is. I mean, it's not the Sunita Williams School. You're combining two school communities on a new site, if it's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Also, just the sheer number of special education programs, which Pollard holds. It holds every program from every elementary school in one space. The level of support and creativity you need to have all of those individually hosted special ed programs from every single elementary school pooled into one is just a different lift than we've had. Even Needham High School, when I was there and we did the renovation with Dorm Whittier, we weren't really looking at the specialized programs in the same way. And so I think having that conversation with Dan and Alyssa, you can talk to him too about what we experienced, what we saw, and what we're thinking about in terms of inclusivity and that creativity piece might lend itself well to a conversation. I don't think you've even sat down and had that. So that might be helpful before you go on Tuesday.
Thank you, Tabitha. I think we can move on to the invoices unless there's anything else that is needed from our committee at this point.
Yeah, and since Dan is not a formal member of this committee, the three of you can converse.
Right.
I'm gonna meet with him tomorrow and brief him on what we said.
We also share this with them so he can.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay, if there's no other comments regarding the recommendations with respect to the architects, we'll move on to the open invoices for the Pollard project. We are a bit behind schedule, so I want to kind of catch up and be fair to folks who are still waiting for to be called. So we'll proceed with the first invoice, which is the under for the Pollard renovation, and that's the chair will move that the invoice from Lyro Hill for January to March 2025 services in the amount of $3,315.00 be approved by the committee, and that's out of the architect's budget. Is there a second on that motion? Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we are again in a hybrid meeting, so we will proceed to a roll call vote. So Lynn, when you're ready.
I tried. Sorry, we're catching up. She's just realizing I live next door to her.
Oh.
Oh, next door. Right next
I
door.
didn't know. That's so funny.
You gotta get out more.
What are you guys?
Bunch of bushes, so that- It wasn't you, it was my friend, the contractor, that did that.
Anyway, on the motion to for the invoice from Lyro Hill in about $3,315, you're up for the roll call. So,
I'm all in,
Yeah.
yes.
all right,
Joe.
I'll take it as enough. Thank you. Bob?
Yes.
Thank you. George? Roy?
Yep.
Erwin,
Aye.
Elisa,
Oh, am I voting on that?
yeah,
Aye.
Tamitha,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay, and that's it for Pollard. That's it. We have a couple of miscellaneous invoices, so I think we're good. So any last questions before we wrap up for Pollard?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And again, thank you for your willingness to serve vis-a-vis MSBA. Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Be in touch.
Okay. All right, we have miscellaneous invoices. I know that we also have, I'm gonna take the invoice for DPW first, because I know Shane has been waiting patiently. Shane, thank you and welcome. My apologies for the delayed take up of this portion of the meeting.
No problem at all. Thanks.
Okay, great, okay. All right, for DPW, we have two invoices. The first is an invoice from Weston and Sampson for March 2025 services in the amount of $217,326.32 coming out of the designer budget. The chair will so move that the committee approve that a payment of that invoice in that amount. Is there a second on that motion? Thank you, George. Discussion motion? Hearing none. Okay, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. And that's gonna be Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin.
Aye.
Thank you. And Shane?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. We have one other invoice for DPW, and that's for Lyro Hill. Chair will move that the committee approve the invoice from Lyro Hill in the amount of $15,390.00. That's for March 2025 services, and that's out of the miscellaneous budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the DPW invoices. I did note that there is I believe, posted on the town's website, there is an FAQ for DPW.
Yes, and anyone who hasn't visited 470,
Please do.
there's an opportunity on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock, 1 to 2, to visit 470 prior to town meeting. So you can see what the conditions are that the staff works in that building.
There was a fire meeting opportunity, right? Last Sunday?
There was another,
What was the turn?
there were 25 or 26 that came.
Between the two groups, or was that
I think there was only 1 or 2 at the
at
second
the
group.
second?
The majority came through in the first group. Were you there?
I was there,
You were there?
yes,
Okay.
left with attic. I said to Kate, I was like, why are we not like getting sued by people for like poor working conditions? It's terrible.
It's terrible.
Like, it's really terrible.
It's hard to
La, la,
believe,
la, 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 la.
it's hard to believe
Yes.
they could accomplish.
Yes, you
It's
are.
hard to believe they could accomplish so much work and do it effectively in those conditions.
And then it's
I was on the original
It's
tour.
difficult
I
space.
think there were,
I was with you. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
four tours of
Yeah.
that facility. And it's been a pit ever since,
And I,
even before that.
I should say that we got approval from Design Review Board last night
With minimal discussion.
with minimal discussion. All members are supportive. And they've closed the hearing for the notice of intent. And so we expect to get the conditions back. And then planning comes after town meeting. So we're moving forward with DD drawings on all those permitting.
I went on the rain date with you, if you recall. and it
Oh, yes.
was getting
Actually, no,
flooded.
Hank, it's in the CD drawings, not the DD drawings. Cause they're moving right into that.
Yeah.
Okay, we got one more set of invoices for Emery Grover, so Shane, thank you for joining us, appreciate it. And yeah, and Elisa, you're welcome to stay to the bitter end, it's fine. Appreciate it, no, we enjoy having you here. So, okay, the chair will move the following invoice from M. O'Connor Contracting, that the committee approve the invoice from M. O'Connor Contracting, that's change order number 23 for Emery Grover. And just want to make sure this is correct, Catherine, this is a
change order.
it's a change order, right? So
A negative
a
amount.
negative amount.
It's a credit.
Okay, so in the negative amount of $2,205.12, so we're saving some money, isn't that nice?
So they're paying us.
They're paying, isn't that nice?
I'm in favor of that.
We are too, yeah. I will, under protocol, I must ask if there's any questions or comments, but I suspect there aren't
Why isn't
any.
it more?
We do that again.
Is it a cutting change or is it
Hank,
No, it's
or-
a previously approved change order for hold open devices
Oh,
for the stairs for whatever,
Maglocks.
whatever it was. But it just couldn't be accomplished.
Yeah.
So there was a deduct for that and then a couple of small adds that made it a net deduct.
I like deducts.
Catherine, did we second that? Did we second it?
No, not yet.
Yeah, okay. Is there, well, thank you, Bob, appreciate it. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn,
aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
thank you, and chair votes aye. I thought somebody for sure was gonna vote no, and that was.
I was thinking about it.
Let's do it.
We have two more invoices, another, this is requisition number 27 for M. O'Connor Contracting. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice from M. O'Connor Contracting. That's a requisition number 27 through March of 2025. That's in the amount of $7,649.16 out of the general contractor's budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Roman. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. One more, and that's an invoice from RG Vanderwild. Actually, two more, sorry. There are two invoices, which is collectively in the amount I'm about to read to you. The first is RG Vanderwild, that's for April 2024 commissioning in the amount of $2,007.00 out of the miscellaneous budget. The second invoice is for Carlisle Engineering Incorporated, and that's for sprinkler head pipe repair. That's the amount of $1,375.39 out of the miscellaneous budget, for a total of $3,382.39 out of the miscellaneous budget. The chair will so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. And I believe that concludes all the invoices for this evening. And I think we're all done, Catherine, with invoices, right?
I can see it.
Okay, great. So the last item on the agenda is any updates, new business, et cetera. I think we're all set. I don't have anything on my list for tonight.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I have the spreadsheet open. And then there's DPW complex, two invoices there.
We did those
So we
first.
did those at the end.
Oh, okay, thank you.
We jumped ahead.
Yeah, thanks.
So I
Oh,
won't-
we
Because
can-
Shane,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Question withdrawn.
No problem. So, Hank, I'll meet with you offline. We'll just talk about the town meeting in terms of anything that we might want to be prepared with, just in case there are questions that might come up.
Yes, and there are several articles
Mhm.
The DPW Phase 1 might be the most controversial, although both Select Board and FinCom have supported it. I was very surprised with FinCom because after being grilled for about an hour, you did?
I watch all those, I just watched them
Okay.
afterwards, but yes.
Then
Just for fun, okay.
Then John Connolly put the motion forward to approve it, and it passed 6-1. So I think that their visit to 470
Yeah.
facilitated that. And like
telling.
you, people were shocked.
Yeah, yeah, I think people don't know it
Yeah.
until you
Yeah.
see it, yeah.
I think at the warrant meeting last night, if you scan down, that the FinCom approved everything except 2 to still be set at town
Yeah,
meeting.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I would note that I was on, I joined the league warrant meeting online, and the precinct that I linked to, really there was a dearth of discussion regarding any of the capital projects, which I thought was very interesting.
It's a good idea to talk to whoever's making the presentation.
Yeah.
To see if there's any questions that they anticipate,
Okay,
just so that you're ready.
it's a good
And it
idea.
won't come up the first night.
No,
It'll be what, the third night, probably.
Second or
second,
third.
Probably.
yeah.
I suspect most of these will stay in the discussion of select board.
Right. I also think that, I think if there is a question, it's probably gonna be about tariffs. That's my guess, if that's what we.
Who's gonna answer that?
And I think, so we also have bid documents out right now on the theater project. The theater system upgrades for Newman. And we've had good interest. There are at least half a dozen electrical contractors. It'd be an electrical as prime, but they have to have 3 other subcontractors, which are not normal filed sub bids. One for audiovisual, one for theatrical lighting, and one for curtain and rigging. Because we'll be replacing the curtains
Yeah.
with
That was the one we couldn't find a sub for.
inherently flame retardant. And Major Theater Equipment Corp will definitely be interested in the project, but not sure who will be prime, and Griffin picked up documents.
Oh.
And then the-
I think you have to.
Ready?
You have to, because of the enthusiasm in the town for theatrical presentations, and it's even more than that's right in the past. I think you have to get some questions about why the decision was made the way it was to go with Newman first.
Right.
So someone needs to be prepared to answer that.
I think this was proponents have to answer the question.
So I don't know who that's going to be.
Well, that'll be the school committee.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who from the school committee is speaking to that topic, the theater.
I asked Dan and I'm not sure I got an answer. So, I mean, Mike is the chair, Mike O'Brien's the chair now.
Right.
And I'm vice chair, so Dan may ask me to do it. And I mean, it's a really short answer, like the lights don't work right now.
Plus it's transitioning from
That's a safety issue.
analog system to a digital system for both lighting and for AV, and putting in safety factor inherently flame retardant fabric in the curtains.
Anyway, there were a couple of questions that came up in my one.
And if FAQs are necessary, I can assist on that. We've already done FAQs for the DPW and for the library, but I haven't done any FAQs for the auditorium or the CAF. So the CAF will be funding the first 3 phases of work, which will be the vestibule addition, the redo of the kitchen, and the swapping of the 2 rooms the exercise room and the game room. And curiously enough, at FinCom, you listened into that one too. There were several representatives from the senior center. And FinCom was asking them, well, is it big enough? Do you need more money? Because, you know, you might not get another bite at the apple, I think. And that's part of the reason why the decision was made to proceed with all three of those pieces.
You know, just for your background, I served on the FinCom for 12 years, served as 20 years chair, and believe me, this is not the FinCom of old. That would, and a question like that would never, ever come up during my tenure, never.
Good to know.
Well, maybe some members are using the facility. I don't
guess
know.
maybe.
There you go.
I appreciate this meeting in person. I just want to say that this has been refreshing to meet this way. Rather than just the screen.
Yep. Appreciate that.
Well,
Duly noted.
The next meeting is after town meeting, not until the 19th. And we'll probably have all the usual suspects. And there's several, so just so the committee is aware, we're moving forward with Broadmeadow RTU replacement. And they worked over April
Yeah,
vacation.
they did some work last week and they're supposed to be back to finish the pad area for the air source heat pump in the back. It's all fenced off. And they weren't there today, but I'm expecting them to come. It is before the pad now. And they're looking to see maybe if they could work some after hours, like a second shift kind of thing. But I haven't heard back from Andy yet. That would be possible because you probably get too much after school stuff. It could interfere with that. So we'll see. It's you recall, we just decided to replace all the roofs. And so that's gonna work in the schedule. So we're ready to hit the ground running. Equipment's all in and good to go.
So I would anticipate next month, we might see an invoice from them for equipment in the yard.
We did. Didn't we get one last month, Catherine?
For Ken?
No.
Can?
No. But it's on your anticipated cash flow.
Okay.
So
We're anticipating next month would be.
If-
Interesting.
Well, that's really up to the committee. I would agree with Roy. There is no such for meeting in person. I felt like we were more lively tonight and it was energetic and it was almost fun. It was.
Almost.
I got a lot to do with the topic. Computer, you know, I got three things on my mouth.
I don't want to say fun.
Work, you know,
That's tough.
I just
Can I ask
can't
this?
help myself.
Can I ask a separate question? Is there any update on the sound issue? On
I
the-
just get something back today from Deborah. The acoustical engineer and mechanical engineer are still trying to figure out whether the baffling that they're proposing has enough, doesn't create too much of a pressure drop to allow it to be installed in the ductwork.
Okay.
So that's the last calculation, if you will. So hopefully we'll have something next week on that, but we'll see.
I would think by next meeting, we would have something.
Yeah.
So I think, George, to answer your question, I think the thinking was that we're gonna try to do a few meetings a year in person and you know, subject to when we have an important topic like this. So I think the next meeting, let me talk to Hank about that and Catherine and we'll let you know.
And we have this.
We have this
The
from
interviews
reserve.
with the candidates for the, we do the interviews, who does that?
The MSBA.
MSBA.
That same building
That same
design
group does it.
Yeah.
And the three representatives. So that second meeting with the interviews will be the 20th. So the day after our next PBPC meeting. So we won't have anything to report yet on that. Unless there's unanimity in the first meeting and we don't do the interviews.
Isn't that meeting open to the public?
Public can listen in.
It's on Zoom, isn't it?
It'll be on Zoom. We can all listen in. And if you're interested in listening in, we'll have to send you an invite, forward an invite, and then you register in advance and then, but you won't be able to speak. Only the 3 official representatives are allowed to speak.
Yes. I think it would be a good idea if you just polled people that might want to do that.
Okay.
Just send out an email.
Oh, we just send out the link to everybody and then anybody can register for it and go online.
That's fine.
It's a two-step process, though. So
Is that?
it's a two-step
Oh, yeah,
process. Yeah, that's true. You've been around the block with us, but yeah.
So, well, let me ask the committee, just getting back to the question of meeting in person. Is the consensus that we want to meet in person more regularly? We can certainly can do that, and starting with next meeting. It's,
I almost think you should drive it by the agenda at some
yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Because, if it's a meeting where we're just going through votes and it's simple, like drag people in.
Yeah.
But as we get into projects, you might want to do more in person. That'd be my, especially with presentations when another person's here.
It was so important that we held in-person meetings when we had decisions that we had to make, especially decisions with the architectural team and the construction team. This project is going to be bigger and more extensive than any of us have been through yet. And there are gonna be a lot of decisions where we're going to sit across the table from each other and kind of in a friendly way, fight it through and get the process to the best possible outcome we can have. So I'm a firm advocate of in person.
But I would
But for
defer to,
issues like that,
I defer to Hank and Richard to make that determination.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that. That's just me.
nothing better
I
than,
second that.
nothing better than approving invoices on Zoom.
Yeah.
Monday night.
Can I raise one thing
Yeah,
that is
please do.
completely unrelated, but, I know that on a number of projects we have done solar. Have we ever done a evaluation of how successful that has been, the ROI or anything else? So that can inform decisions of future projects?
Yeah.
So I don't need, it's a question I'm asking. I'm not asking you to do it. I'm just saying, like, who's evaluating that? Because it's gonna come up on future projects too.
Well, this company, IDS, that Barry is talking to, we're gonna go back in and do a deep dive at Sunita Williams. The town gets in its smart payments about $20,000 a year. The total cost of that project, that's just in smart payments. And I will have to update the equation. You have a whole spreadsheet on the return on investment. I would say after the first 5 years, it's paid for itself.
No, that's true, and that is question.
That's
But
great.
it's just, I'd like, because I know that would
Yeah.
it's gonna be a factor in.
Because you have to look, we have to look at what is produced on the rooftop. It first goes through the building. And then it's credited on a month-to-month basis. And so, yes, there are days over the weekends, for instance, where we're pumping power back into the grid, but it becomes part of the overall equation. And, but at the same time, through COVID, we ran all of those machines to the max with 100% exhaust, 100% fresh air intake, totally blew the energy system out of the water. But solar is still producing. It produces somewhere between a quarter and a third of the power demand for the school.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
And our hope on the DPW edition, when you read the warrant article, you'll see that any grants or tax incentives that come back can be used by the project. So we'll be bidding that project with the solar on the rooftop as an ad alternate, not knowing exactly where things are going to come. But the base building has ground source heat pumps. Right now there'll be 4, and we'll be putting a test one in over the summer. So that building, if we could earn close to $750,000 if the IRA funds are still available. But that money won't come back in until a year after the project opens. So we could potentially, the warrant article would allow the committee to then reinvest that money and put solar on the rest of the rooftop, or put air source heat pumps in the existing building to turn it to all electric.
Thanks for the answer, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, well, if there's no other business before the committee, well, I know people want to watch the Celtics games.
I kind of thought Irwin might have it on in the background.
Helping
I
us
wouldn't be
out.
watching the Celtics, I'll be watching another team.
Wow.
Red Sox.
On that note, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Would someone to make that motion? Thank you. Second? Motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion, hearing none. Proceeds a roll call vote. Lynn,
Right,
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
All right.
Erwin,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
You all.
Aye, all right.
thanks, everybody.
So. Regularly.
I am.
Until